Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers, and yes, it is my turn to pick my top 5 running shoes that launched in 2023 that I have loved running in this year. Now, I know it's the one you've been waiting for because, let's face it, Nick's too quick, Kieran plods too long, and Tom just rips the outsole off of all of his shoes. And now it's my turn to pick for my top 5 of the shoes that have really kind of impressed me in 2023. And I think in general, most running brands have had very good years. I think it's been a year where we've seen some lines reinvented, which I think have been generally for the better. We've seen some innovation as well there too. I do think there's going to be a lot more next year, and I think it's going to be a busy year of launches next year. That's 2024 though. Let's focus on 2023. Most of my shoes, or all of my shoes, are road running shoes. I haven't done as much trail running as I would like to have done this year. In fact, I haven't done as much running as I'd like to do in general, but these are the shoes that really reflect the types of runs that I've been able to do, the bit of racing that I've been able to do this year as well, and the ones that I think are worth highlighting and ones that have stuck around in my rotation, and depending on what launches next year, will probably stick in my rotation as well too. So here we go. This is my top 5 running shoes that launched in 2023 that I've absolutely loved running in this year. So in at 5 is the Hoka Rocket X2. Now, I absolutely love the Rocket X, and as I kind of mentioned in our kind of last gen older shoes that I still love running it in, I think that was a shoe I've really enjoyed running in. Now, the Rocket X2 has been a shoe that I have been able to do some racing in. I did Hackney Half in it earlier this year. I did the Olympic Park 5K recently with Tom and Nick as well too, and I have been able to do some kind of speed sessions in general, get out on the track with this, and it is a different shoe to the Rocket X, but I think it's a different shoe in a lot of good ways. It definitely feels like a shoe I would feel more comfortable running longer distances compared to the Hoka Rocket X. I love the look of this shoe. You know, when you're stepping up on a start line and you're racing, it feels like a racing shoe, and it feels like a racing shoe. That midsole just feels more in line with the other kind of top tier kind of carbon racing shoes, and you know, you've got that qualities of the Hoka shoes that make it a good racing shoe, something a little bit different from what else is out there, but in its own unique way. I think it offers something a little bit different as well, and I think it's got that explosive feel to it. I think the ride feels great, the outsole is pretty good for me overall, and I like the fact that the upper is nice and light too. So this is a shoe that has really kind of impressed me. It is expensive, but then most carbon, you know, top tier shoes are, but it feels like, unlike the Rocket X, which I think, you know, not everyone absolutely loved that shoe. I did. This is a shoe that is going to appeal to more people. It's definitely a stronger alternative to those other kind of top tier shoes from Nike, Asics, Adidas. So, you know, Hoka, you know, it feels like Hoka really does have a strong racing shoe and launched a very strong racing shoe. Probably one of the most standout ones that I've run in and been able to race in this year. So yeah, that's my 5th pick, the Hoka Rocket X2. In at number 4 is the On Cloudeclipse. Now, I didn't think I would be mentioning a On shoe in my top 5 shoes for 2023, but to be honest, On has had a very good year and probably had one of the standout years in terms of the running brands. In terms of slightly reinventing themselves, I think making changes to their lines I think needed to happen, and just making better running shoes in general. The On Cloudbeam Echo 3 was great, the Cloud Surfer was great as well. This came out a little later, but for me, this has been the standout On shoe for me, and just a standout running shoe for me. What I like about it is that I love a kind of more up-tempo daily trainer, something that you can go run easy in, but also if you want to pick the pace up in a run, or you want to do a little bit more, something a little bit quicker, then that's the kind of shoe that I like having on my feet. And I definitely feel like this sits in that criteria. What I like about it, and you know, what we typically get from one, it is a good looking shoe. So I am a sucker for a good looking shoe, and that's what you get here with the On Cloudeclipse. But that change in the midsole is really what sold it for me, and actually the rocker and the ride that you get in this shoe as well too. It's a good weight, that kind of Cloud Tech phase midsole, which is kind of influenced from the Cloud Surfer, but it's a little bit firmer in comparison. I just think works for making it a better versatile daily training shoe compared to something like the Cloud Surfer. I think it brings it in line with other more up-tempo kind of daily trainer shoes that you can get. It's not made for that really quicker stuff, but I do think if you want a shoe that you can ease off in but also pick up the pace a little bit in places as well too, this is a shoe for me that has done that job really, really well. And you know, it launched later this year, but it's one shoe that I've continued to put on since I've tested it and we've reviewed it on the channel, and it's one I'll continue to use as well. It's kind of a shoe I would say if I'm going away, this is a shoe I would take with me, because I could wear it around, walk in it, but also I know I could run a variety of different kind of speeds and paces in it, and I'd be happy to have that kind of one shoe to kind of do it all, in terms of only having room to carry one thing or to wear one thing. So yeah, my fourth pick is the On Cloudeclipse. So my third pick is the Saucony Triumph 21. Now, it was a toss-up between this and another Saucony shoe, so the Saucony Axon 3, which I think is a really good, affordable shoe that Saucony launched this year, and a good kind of alternative to something like the Puma Velocity Nitro 2. But I think when I kind of weighed it up, I still probably would go for the Velocity Nitro 2 over the Axon 3. Where I think with the Saucony Triumph 21, for me, has been probably the standout shoe for me in Saucony's launches this year. Now, what I like about the Saucony, particularly this version of the Triumph, is I think previously it has been a shoe that's been really great for those slow, long, easy runs, giving you that kind of level of plushness and comfort where if you just want to go and run slow and long, that is a shoe. It's been a line that's well suited to do that. Now in the Triumph 21, I feel like that the criteria of where this shoe sits or what it's capable of has changed, and I think a bit like I said with the On Cloudeclipse, I feel like this is a shoe that you can definitely, it's still a shoe for easy, slow runs ultimately, but it has a good enough ride in it, and I think a feeling to want to run it a little bit quicker in it. Again, you're not going to do speed work in it, but I think if you want to run a little bit more on tempo in this shoe, you can absolutely do it in this shoe, and it is a good weight. I think overall the fit is very good and supportive. I love the fit on this shoe, and it's a shoe definitely, since I've tested, if I saw it and I had to go out and do a run like the ones I've described that it's best suited for, I'd have no issues kind of picking it up and going out and running in it, because I think it just gives you everything you want from that kind of daily trainer, but a daily trainer kind of veers a little bit more on that kind of slow, long, easy runs, but also slightly quicker or kind of more up tempo running as well too. So yeah, for me, as I said, it was between this and the Saucony Axon 3. I think the Saucony Triumph 21 just edges it for me, because I think it's a good evolution of the previous Triumph shoes, whether it's kind of the upper, the feeling in terms of what this shoe is capable of and the best runs it works for. And I think this is, it's one of my favourite lines in Saucony's range, and I think the Triumph 21 is a very good instalment, and a good instalment that we got in 2023. So just missing out on the top spot, and coming in at number 2 is this shoe, the Nike Vaporfly 3. Now, I was the last person in the team to run in a Vaporfly shoe, and thanks to Sport Shoes for sorting out a Vaporfly 3 sample for me this year. And the reason I have been like that is almost because I've kind of thought, well, I don't want to just be like everyone else, and I want to find another shoe that I think would still work for that kind of race kind of scenario, and I found that in kind of things like the Meta Speed, things like the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. But this year I got to run in this, I got to race in this. When I felt confident to start running quicker again and do a race, this is the shoe I picked up, and I get it. I get why people love this shoe, and for me it absolutely worked, and it felt great. And I've since that race, and that was kind of an attempt to go out and run my quickest, and I ran 20:001 I think, basically, so just missed out on a sub 20, and it felt fantastic. I get it, it's nice and light. I love the upper. I wasn't sure whether the upper would work for me, but it was absolutely fine, and it just feels explosive. When you're running at your quickest, that kind of midsole and that foam just kind of comes into its own, and it just feels like a super shoe. And I get why it costs as much. I get why people love this shoe and love the Vaporfly. And for me, this is a shoe that I'm already thinking, I don't know what's going to happen next year in terms of the next launch. We know we've got the Alpha Fly 3 coming, and Nick's got that in at the moment. But for me, now that I feel a lot more confident to run a little bit quicker, this is a shoe I'm looking forward to picking up and doing a bit more racing in next year. And there's going to be a lot of shoes that I'm going to be wanting to race in next year. But this is one that if I wanted to do some shorter distance running, I think if I wanted to do kind of slightly longer distance in it, this is a shoe that I would have no issues picking up. As I said, I've raced in it, I've done kind of track sessions, I've done kind of quicker speed sessions in it, and that's where it excels. It's not a shoe that's versatile, but if you save it for race day, then you're going to get the rewards from it, or I feel like you're going to get the rewards from it. So yeah, in at number 2 for me is the Nike Vaporfly 3. Okay, so my top pick and my number one running shoe that has launched in 2023 that I've absolutely loved running. Now, what I've factored in here is this is the shoe that when I first put it on to, after reviewing and testing, this is a shoe that I've continued to wear and I've enjoyed running it in. Now, this shoe for me represents a reinvention of a line, and I know that reinvention hasn't been that well received by everyone, but I think in terms of my experience of that line previously and what this shoe is now, I think it is a positive change, and I think it just sits with the trend of, or one of the trends we've seen in running shoes this year. So my top pick is this shoe, the New Balance 1080 V13, which also have in this baby blue colour, but I think I prefer the kind of more low-key colour here. Now, as I said, this is, I think you almost have to put it out of your mind that this is an identical shoe, or it has the same traits as previous 1080 shoes. It's totally different, and that's from what you're getting in the upper, from the kind of softer feeling Fresh Foam X midsole foam you're getting here as well too. It just feels like a different shoe. Now, before this shoe launched, I think I would have picked the Asics Gel Nimbus 25 in place of this. What has sold it for me on this shoe compared to that shoe, and they're designed for the same types of runs, I would say, is that this shoe is lighter. This shoe has a nicer ride than that shoe. It has that plush, soft feeling as well. It's a shoe designed for comfortable, easy runs, giving you that good level of protection, but that softer feel in general. And that's not what you got on the 1080 before. But it's a shoe that I didn't really find a place for it in general long term after I tested it. And I would say that the last two generations of the 1080 shoe, it's been a different story with the 1080 V13. As I said, it's a shoe, for the first time I put it on and we did that first run, to kind of continue running in it after we reviewed, I've loved running in this shoe. And a bit like the On Cloudeclipse, this is a shoe that I would kind of describe as, I've only got one shoe to take away with me, I've only got one shoe to pick from, that I need to go away on a trip. This is a shoe I do. I can go around and walk in this shoe. This is a shoe that I know that I can run well in, and I can run comfortably in, and it'll give me enough of a scope to run a few different types of runs in this shoe, and that's really important for me. It's got a good level of comfort. Ultimately, as I said, there's been a trend of these shoes, these cushioned shoes like the Asics Gel Nimbus 25, like the New Balance 1080 V13, that softer feeling kind of daily trainer. That is just a very different mold to the daily trainers we've seen previously. And I think this shoe represents the best of those new shoes, and it's a shoe that I've enjoyed running in the most. As I said, I know not absolutely everyone has loved this shoe, but it's a shoe, as I said, based on my experiences of the previous 1080 shoes and what we've got here now. It's totally different, but I think it is good different. So yeah, my top pick has been the New Balance 1080 V13. Just beat the Nike Vaporfly 3. But I think in terms of looking at the new trend of shoes and the new biggest trend we've seen in running shoes this year, this for me has been a standout shoe in that kind of category. But overall has just been a shoe that I've enjoyed running in from the first run to the last run, and also continue running it and keeping it in my rotation as well too. Okay, so there you have it. Those are my top 5 running shoe picks from the shoes that launched in 2023. Hopefully, maybe that's given you an idea, or maybe some help in terms of some shoes you might look to add into your rotation as well. I'm sure you won't absolutely agree with all of the selections, so do let us know the shoes that have stood out for you in 2023 as well too. Don't forget to go and watch Nick, Tom and Kieran's videos, which are already up on the channel as well too, where they pick out their top running shoes from this year as well too. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.